Dubious ones, welcome back to the channel for another Street Fighter 6 video as we have some very exciting news as we finally have the announcement of our Season 2 DLC. Year 2 DLC is here. We've got Jamie and Luke playing in the arcade. Jamie having another drink. But who is it? None other than Fatal Fury himself, Terry Bogard! And for all you SNK fans, we've got Mai Shiranui! And for you Street Fighter 3 buffs out there, we do have our Street Fighter 3 aficionado, Elena, returning. But no DLC would be complete. No Street Fighter game would be complete without the dictator himself. m.bison is returning. Obviously, depending on your region. If you're outside of North America, we know him as Dictator or Vega. Inside of North America, we know him as m.bison. Obviously, we know they can't use the name Mike Bison for their boxer that looks strikingly similar and was based off Mike Tyson. So he got the name Balrog, and that's how Vega ended up with the name m.bison. Regardless, we are getting the Dictator, we are getting Vega, we are getting m.bison, whatever you want to call him. He has returned to Street Fighter 6. Now, the addition of Terry Bogard. Very excited about. Fatal Fury, King of Fighters, Supreme Fighting Machine. Terry Bogard is coming to the party. Elena, again, Street Fighter 3, veteran, one of the many players we need coming to this game from the lore of Street Fighter 3, as Street Fighter 6 directly follows the events of Street Fighter 3. So I'm surprised we didn't get certain characters like Dudley, like G, or Q, or Hugo, or certain other characters that were in Street Fighter 3 or that may have been introduced in Street Fighter 3. Dudley being a fan favorite, I really thought we might get Dudley this time around. I was really hoping for G so they could really flesh out his story more with the issues, like with the Project Q or Project G and like his correlation to Q from Street Fighter 3. I was really hoping we'd get some of that, but it looks like we're going to have to wait at least another year, as this is our 2025 and 2024 DLC. But what we're noticing here is the game just turned 1 year old. We're getting m.bison in the summer, which is fantastic. We're getting Terry in the fall or autumn of 2024, okay. But then we're getting Elena in spring 2025. Well, spring 2025, that basically brings us to an end of the 2-year mark. May coming in winter 2025, that puts us into year 3, not joining the fight in year 2. Year 2 ends the end of May 2025. Not winter, not December, not November, not winter 2025. So this is a little upsetting to me, because we used to get 6 DLC per expansion. Like every year from the Street Fighter games in the past, whether it's Street Fighter 4, Street Fighter 5, we would always get at least 6 fighters per pack. So with a smaller roster and only getting 4, we only got 4 last year, Akuma being the 4th. Only getting 4 per year and then having Mai being pushed back to winter 2025, so even beyond 1 year. That to me is too much. There are so many characters people are dying to play. People's favorite characters. Yun and Yang, G, Q, Balrog, Dudley, Hugo. So many characters from Street Fighter 3. Elena was one of them, so I'm happy to see she's making her way back Sean. Just so there's, I mean, there's a giant list of characters that would make sense with the lore going from Street Fighter 3 to Street Fighter 6 coming into the game, and we don't have them yet. Remy, like so many characters that I would like to see. My biggest missed character for me is G. I wanted them to flesh out the G character as a final boss type character, as a real threat, and give us more in-depth info on his lore, his connection to Q, the G project, everything we know in the lore. He's so shrouded in mystery, and I thought he was a really an interesting character and had a really fun moveset in Street Fighter V, and I really wanted to see him come in this DLC pack. So I'm very disappointed we're not getting G. Excited to see Bison, sure. He'll sell copies, obviously a fan favorite. And Terry Bogard, both SNK veterans. Not complaining we're getting either of them. Very happy to see them coming. Elena, from Street Fighter 3. I kind of figured we'd get her in the next DLC or two, so that makes sense to me. That's fine. But not getting Dudley. Dudley from Street Fighter 3. A huge fan favorite. Hugo. Poison. I know some of these characters in Street Fighter V, but a character like G, who was introduced in Street Fighter V, and the Capcom executives themselves said that G was supposed to be the final boss of Street Fighter V, even though he was released after the arcade mode, after all the single player thing, so he wasn't actually a final boss. Gil and Urien are both not here. Both characters I think that should definitely be in this game, especially if it's a sequel, or not a sequel, but it takes place after the timeline of Street Fighter 3. Now, for those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, the timeline of Street Fighter goes Street Fighter Alpha 1, 2, and 3, Street Fighter 2, all the Street Fighter 2s that followed, Street Fighter 4, all the Street Fighter 4s that followed, Ultra, blah, 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 Street Fighter 5, then Street Fighter 3, first, second strike, third impact, all the Street Fighter 3s, then Street Fighter 6. So I'm surprised we're not getting characters like Q, that was introduced in Street Fighter V and has a striking similarity to Q, moveset and otherwise. And I believe, when they talked about the G files and everything else, Q could be a clone of some sort of G. I really wanted them to flesh that out and really find out. Because G was probably my favorite character, new character added in Street Fighter V personally. Dudley, always been a favorite of mine. We only ever saw him in Street Fighter 3 and Street Fighter 4. Balrog, he's been around for lots of the games, so I don't mind if we had to wait for another DLC to see Balrog come back. But, man, there's so many missed characters. And only getting 4 a year, and we're getting 2 SNK characters in this DLC. I'm not complaining that we're getting 2 SNK characters. I just would have loved it if we got 6 characters and 2 of them were SNK characters. You know what I mean? So anyways, Dubious Ones, I'm very excited for this DLC. I don't want to bring it down. It's very exciting that we finally are finding out when we are getting some new DLC for this game. Please sound off in the comments down below who you want to see join the fight in Street Fighter 6. Which of your characters is missing? Who would you like to see? Are you surprised they didn't introduce a new character like Aki from the last DLC? Are you upset that we didn't get some more Street Fighter 5 characters or Street Fighter 3 characters or just some of the original Street Fighter 2, various versions cast or Alpha Games cast? I personally want to see Dudley. I personally want to see G. I personally would like to see Hugo. I would like to see those characters make this roster. I would like to see Gil and Urien make this roster. Those are some of my biggest misses so far that we have not seen in Street Fighter 6 that I'd like to see, as well as Yoon and Yang. Either of them I would love to see come to this game as well. Give them a shot, see how they feel like playing on modern controls. I think that would be really interesting. Because my biggest thing is, I want to see how a lot of these characters play on modern controls, right? I would like to give them a shot. But I'm super, super excited to be able to play with Elena, m.bison, Terry, as well as Mai Shiranui. I loved the King of Fighter games growing up. The SNK games, Fatal Fury, all that fun on the arcades growing up. So I'm very excited to see the SNK inclusion here. I'm just sad that, again, it's only 3 characters in year 2, My coming in winter 2025 means she's actually coming out in year 3. So I don't like the low DLC count for an entire calendar year. Because I don't know how long Street Fighter 6 is. Usually these games have what, an 8-year, 9-year life cycle, maybe less, 7 years. Like, how long was Street Fighter 5 out where they had all the DLC come out, and then eventually you get like Oro and Dan and those last few characters at the end of the DLC. But then people don't really care about Street Fighter 5 because you're what, like 6 months away from Street Fighter 6 coming out. So I don't want to see some of my favorite characters like Dudley or G or fall into those categories. Like G already came out fairly late into the Street Fighter 5 life cycle. So seeing him come late into the Street Fighter 6 life cycle would be a little disappointing for me personally. But I do know these games they do run for years at a time, and there is only so many roster slots. But there are so many cool characters in the Street Fighter lore. And I'm not upset with any of these characters making the DLC. Do not get me wrong. I love all 4 of these characters. I think it's great that all 4 of them are coming, and I can't wait to play all 4 of them. But I personally really, really, really want to see G, Dudley, maybe Balrog, Gil or Urian, and Yun and Yang would be my picks for what I would like to see come to Street Fighter 6. Anyways, that's going to do it for this one. Dubious Ones, sound off your picks for who you'd like to see join the Street Fighter 6 roster in the comments down below, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Deuces.